My wife announced she'd cheat on me at the company party 10 times, but screamed when I hit record. If this story stirred something in your heart, give it a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe to Revenge with Jack, where every story reminds us that pain can lead to power. The neon glow of Seattle's skyline flickered through the blinds of our downtown condo, casting jagged shadows across the hardwood floor. It was 7 p.m. on a drizzly Friday, and I, Brandon Keller, 41, pushed through the front door, my leather briefcase heavy with the weight of another grueling week. I'm a senior project manager at a tech firm specializing in cloud solutions, pulling in $275,000 a year. Not bad for a guy who started as a coder in a basement startup. Our life, mine and my wife Felicia's, was the kind you'd see in a glossy magazine, a sleek condo, weekend trips to the San Juans, a wine cellar stocked with bottles we'd never drink. But lately the shine had dulled, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was slipping through my fingers. Felicia, 34, stood in the kitchen, her jet black hair cascading over a silk blouse, pouring a glass of Pinot Noir. She worked as a creative director at a boutique advertising agency, her charisma and sharp mind landing her accounts that kept her out late. Too late sometimes. The smell of grilled steak and rosemary filled the air, a rare sign she'd cooked instead of ordering from that overpriced bistro she loved. Her hazel eyes flicked to me, sharp and unreadable, like she was sizing me up. "Hey, babe," I said, loosening my tie and dropping my keys on the marble counter. "Steak. What's the occasion?" She smirked, swirling her wine. "Do I need one, or can't I just spoil my husband?" Her voice had an edge like a blade wrapped in velvet. I knew that tone. 8 years of marriage had taught me to read her like code, the slight tilt of her head, the way her fingers tightened around the glass. She was pissed or hurt or both. "Rough day?" I asked, grabbing a beer from the fridge. She laughed, a low, bitter sound. "You could say that." Another client pitch tanked. Apparently my vision's too aggressive for their brand. She took a sip, her eyes never leaving mine. "But you wouldn't know, would you? You're always neck deep in your cloud nonsense." The jab stung. My job wasn't glamorous like hers, but it paid for this condo, her Audi, the life we'd built. "I'm here now," I said, keeping my voice even. "Let's eat. Talk about it." She didn't move, just leaned against the counter, her gaze slicing through me. "Talk? You don't talk, Brandon. You fix. You optimize. Like I'm one of your projects." I set my beer down, tension coiling in my chest. "That's not fair, Felicia. I'm trying to be here for you." "Trying." She stepped closer, her perfume, something spicy new, hitting me like a wave. "When was the last time you saw me, really saw me? I'm drowning, and you're too busy saving the world's data to notice." The air crackled between us. We'd had this fight before, her restlessness flaring up like a brush fire. She'd get bored, pick at me, my long hours, my predictable routine, and it'd spiral. I took a breath, steadying myself. "Felicia, let's not do this tonight. The steak's getting cold." Her eyes flashed and she slammed her glass down, wine sloshing onto the counter. "Don't patronize me," she snapped. "I'm sick of this cage, you, this condo, this life. It's suffocating." "Cage." I repeated, my voice rising despite myself. "I bust my ass for us, Felicia. This condo, your car, those trips you love, I make that happen." She laughed again, colder this time, and reached into her purse, pulling out a folded piece of paper. She unfolded it with deliberate slowness, her eyes locked on mine. "You want to know how trapped I feel, Brandon? Let me show you." She slapped the paper on the counter, a list of 10 names scrawled in her elegant handwriting. Men's names. I recognized a few colleagues from her agency. Owen Chandler, her suave, newly promoted creative lead, was number 1. "This weekend at the company retreat in Whidbey Island, I'm sleeping with every guy on this list. 10 times 1 for each year I've wasted feeling invisible." My heart stopped, then slammed against my ribs. The room tilted, the steak's aroma turning sour in my nose. "You're not serious?" I said, my voice low, barely controlled. "Am I?" She leaned in, her breath warm with wine, her voice a venomous whisper. "You're a weakling, Brandon. You'll just watch me do it. You always do." I stared at the list, her handwriting mocking me. Owen Chandler, the guy who'd been glued to her at the last agency gala, his hand lingering on her waist. I'd brushed it off as networking. Now it felt like a neon sign I'd ignored. "You're drunk." I said, forcing calm. You don't mean this, don't I? She drained her glass, her lips curling into a cruel smile. I'm done playing the perfect wife. Saturday night I'm checking off every name. You can sit here with your beer and your spreadsheets while I live. Something snapped inside me, not rage, not yet, but a cold, hard clarity. I'd spent years building this life, loving her, believing in us, and she thought she could gut me like this. Fine, I said, my voice steel. Do what you want, Felicia. I won't stop you. Her smile faltered like she hadn't expected me to agree. What, you heard me, I said, grabbing my jacket. I'm not fighting you tonight, but don't think I'm just gonna watch. I walked out the Seattle rain, swallowing me whole, her list burned into my brain. Weakling, she'd called me. She had no idea who she was dealing with. I pulled out my phone, opened the voice recorder, and hit start. If Felicia wanted to play dirty, I'd be ready to play dirtier. The next morning, I woke in a hotel room downtown, the Space Needle looming through the window like a silent judge. My phone showed 4 missed calls from Felicia, no voicemails. I ignored them, ordering room service coffee and calling my best friend Caleb Monroe, 43, a cybersecurity consultant with a knack for seeing through people's masks. We met at a dive bar near Pike Place, the smell of fish and salt air mixing with stale beer. Felicia said what Caleb said, his eyes wide as I laid it out, her threat the list Owen's name at the top. Man, that's ice cold. You think she's for real? I don't know, I said, stirring my coffee. She was half a bottle deep, pissed as hell. But that list? She wrote it sober. Planned it. Caleb leaned back, arms crossed. Sounds like she's testing you. Pushing to see how far you'll bend before you break. Maybe I said my jaw tight. But I saw her with Owen at that gala last month. He's been circling her like a shark, and she didn't exactly push him away. Caleb whistled low. What's your move, Brandon? You can't just let her torch your marriage. I'm going to that retreat, I said, my voice hard. Whidbey Island, tomorrow night. I need to see if she's bluffing. Caleb raised an eyebrow. You're crashing her company party, ballsy, but if she spots you, it's gonna explode. I'm not confronting her, I said, pulling out my phone. Not yet. I've got this. I showed him the voice recorder app, the file from last night labeled Felicia_threat. If she's serious, I'll get proof. If not, I'll back off. Caleb shook his head, grinning. You're a cold bastard, Keller. Just don't get caught. Saturday afternoon, I drove the hour to Whidbey Island, the ferry crossing Puget Sound under a steel-gray sky. The retreat was at a waterfront resort, all cedar and glass, the kind of place ad agencies love for their team-building booze fests. I'd been to 1 year ago, back when Felicia and I were still sneaking into coat rooms to make out. Now I was here like a ghost, my wedding ring cold against my finger. I checked into a cabin under a fake name using a burner email. The resort was crawling with agency types, their laughter echoing across the lawn. I spotted Felicia from a distance, her black hair catching the fading light as she mingled with colleagues near the fire pit. She wore a crimson dress, the kind that turned heads, her laugh bright, but forced. Owen Chandler was there in a tailored blazer, his charm dialed to 11. My grip tightened on my bag, but I stayed out of sight, blending into the dusk. The party kicked off at 8 p.m., the resort's main hall transformed into a club, dim lights, pulsing music, an open bar flowing like a river. I slipped in, keeping to the shadows, my phone ready. Felicia was at the bar, a martini in hand, her eyes scanning the room. Owen slid up beside her, his hand brushing her elbow as he whispered something. She laughed, tossing her hair, and my chest burned. I pulled out my phone, hit record, capturing the way she leaned into him, her fingers grazing his arm. The list in my pocket felt like a loaded gun. I moved closer, using a group of drunk creatives as cover. Felicia's voice cut through the noise, teasing and sharp. You think you can handle me tonight, Owen? He grinned, his hand sliding to her waist. Bet I can, Felicia. I kept recording, my pulse steady despite the fire in my veins. I'd spent years managing high-stakes projects, staying cool when servers crashed or deadlines loomed. This was no different. Observe. Document. Act. I zoomed in, catching the way her eyes flickered, not with desire, but with something else. Doubt, guilt, I couldn't tell. Then she saw me. Her gaze locked on mine through the crowd, her face draining of color. The martini slipped from her hand, shattering on the floor, drawing gasps. Owen stepped back, confused, as Felicia stood frozen. Her lips parted like she wanted to scream but couldn't. I stopped recording, pocketed my phone, and stepped forward, the crowd parting like they sensed a storm coming. "Brandon," she whispered, her voice cracking. "What are you doing here?" I held up my phone, the screen dark but heavy with truth. "You said I'd just watch Felicia." "So I did." Her breath hitched, and then she screamed a raw, desperate sound that silenced the room. The DJ cut the music heads, turning whispers rippling. I stood calm, my voice low and lethal. "You wanted to break me. Nice try." I turned and walked out, the rain waiting for me, cold and sharp. Felicia's scream echoed, but I didn't look back. Not yet. This wasn't over. The rain lashed against my windshield as I drove away from the Whidbey Island resort, the ferry's horn a distant moan in the dark. Felicia's scream still burned in my ears, raw and desperate, like she'd seen a ghost when she spotted me recording her with Owen Chandler. I'm Brandon Keller, 41, a tech project manager in Seattle, and my life, once a polished snapshot of success, was unraveling. My wife, Felicia, 34, had threatened to sleep with 10 men at her company retreat, waving a list of names like a weapon. Owen, her slick co-worker, was her top pick. I'd caught them on video, her flirting sharp and deliberate, his hands too comfortable on her crimson dress. I wasn't sure if she was bluffing or breaking us, but I was done waiting to find out. My phone buzzed in the passenger seat, Felicia's name flashing. 7 missed calls, no voicemails. I let it ring, my grip tight on the steering wheel. The ferry rocked as it crossed Puget Sound, the Seattle skyline, a smear of neon through the storm. I replayed the video in my head, Felicia's laugh, Owen's smirk, the way her eyes flickered when she saw me. Guilt, defiance. I couldn't read her anymore, and that scared me more than her list. Back in my hotel room downtown, I sank onto the bed, the Space Needle's glow mocking me through the window. I played the video, the grainy footage capturing every damning moment, Felicia's fingers on Owen's arm, his hand on her waist, her voice daring him to handle her. My thumb hovered over the share button, a dark impulse urging me to send it to her boss, her coworkers, hell, her mom. Let her feel the weight of her own words. But I stopped. That wasn't me. Not yet. A knock at the door jolted me. I checked the peephole, Caleb Monroe, my buddy, soaked from the rain, his jaw set. I let him in, the smell of wet leather filling the room as he shook off his jacket. "You look like hell," he said, eyeing my rumpled shirt. "What happened at the retreat?" I showed him the video, my voice flat as I recounted Felicia's threat, the list, her scream when she saw me. Caleb's eyes narrowed. "Damn, Brandon. She's playing dirty. You sure she's serious about this?" "I don't know," I admitted, tossing my phone on the bed. "She was drunk when she showed me the list, but that video, that's not just wine talking." Caleb sat on the desk chair, cracking his knuckles. "You gotta move fast, man. If she's bluffing, you call her out. If she's not, you need more than a video to protect yourself." "Protect myself," I said, my voice sharp. "From what? Her torching our marriage. From her spinning it," he said, leaning forward. "She's in PR, Brandon. She's a pro at controlling the narrative. You show up with that video, she'll twist it. Say you're jealous, controlling, stalking her. You need hard proof." He was right. Felicia could charm a room blind, and I'd seen her spin bad press into gold for her clients. If she was cheating or even planning to, she'd cover her tracks. "What's my play?" I asked, rubbing my temples. Caleb grinned, a glint in his eye. "Hack her world. You're in tech. Check her phone, her emails, her accounts. Find the trail." I hesitated. Snooping felt like crossing a line, but Felicia had already redrawn the map. "I've got her iCloud password," I said, pulling out my laptop. "Haven't used it in years, but it might still work." Caleb clapped my shoulder. "That's the spirit. Dig, but don't get sloppy. She catches you, you're the bad guy." Sunday morning, I woke to a pounding headache and 8 more missed calls from Felicia. I ignored them, logging into her iCloud from my laptop in the hotel's dim light. Her password, our anniversary date, still worked. My chest tightened as her digital life spilled open emails, texts, photos. I started with her messages, scrolling through chats with coworkers, her mom, her sister. Nothing jumped out until I hit a thread with Owen, timestamped 2 weeks ago. "Owen, dinner was fun last night. You sure you're okay, Felicia?" "Not really. Brandon's been distant. I feel like I'm losing myself." "Owen." "You deserve better, Felicia. Someone who sees you." "I'm here. Felicia, I know, I just need time." My stomach churned. Dinner, when Felicia hadn't mentioned any work dinners. I scrolled further, finding more late-night texts, flirty but vague, always stopping short of a clear line. Then, a week before the retreat, Owen can't wait for Whidbey. You gonna let loose Felicia maybe? Depends on how much wine they pour. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath ragged. No smoking gun, but enough to confirm Owen wasn't just a coworker. He was a predator, and Felicia was teetering on the edge. I checked her emails next, skimming work threads until I found one from Owen buried in a folder labeled Personal. Subject Us. My hands shook as I opened it. Felicia, it read, I know you're married, but what we have is real. You're not happy. I see it every day. Let's talk at the retreat. No pressure, just truth. Owen. Sent 3 days before her list. I screenshot it, my jaw tight. Owen wasn't waiting for an invitation, he was pushing hard. I checked her bank app, last our joint account showing a charge for $350 at a waterfront restaurant in Belltown, dated the same night as their dinner. I hadn't been there. She'd said she was working late. I called Caleb, my voice low as I laid it out. Found texts, an email, a restaurant charge. She's been meeting Owen behind my back. Damn, he said, his voice crackling through the phone. You got enough to confront her? Not yet, I said, pacing the room. I need to know how far this goes. I'm tailing her today. She's driving back from Whidbey. Caleb sighed. You're playing spy now. Be careful, man. You get caught, it's game over. I know I said grabbing my keys, but I'm not letting her gaslight me. I caught Felicia's Audi on the freeway, keeping 2 cars between us as she drove into Seattle. The rain had eased, but the roads were slick, reflecting the city's glow. She pulled into a coffee shop in Capitol Hill, a trendy spot with graffiti art and overpriced pour-overs. I parked across the street, watching her step out, her black hair pulled into a bun, her face drawn. She was on her phone, gesturing sharply like she was arguing. I waited 10 minutes, then slipped inside, grabbing a corner table behind a bookshelf. Felicia sat near the window across from a woman I recognized, Lila Hayes, her coworker and closest friend at the agency. I pulled out my phone, pretending to scroll while I listened. I screwed up, Lila. Felicia was saying, her voice low but urgent. Brandon was at the retreat. He saw me with Owen. I don't know what he thinks, but it's bad. Lila leaned forward, her blonde hair catching the light. What were you doing with Owen, Felicia? You told me you were done with that. I was, Felicia said, her hands twisting a napkin. But last night, I was drunk, angry. Brandon's been so checked out, Lila. Owen was there saying all the right things. I didn't do anything, I swear, but it looked bad. My pulse spiked. Didn't do anything, the video said otherwise. I kept my head down, my phone recording their conversation through my jacket pocket. You need to tell Brandon the truth, Lila said, her voice firm. That list you told me about, that was reckless, Felicia. You're playing with fire. Felicia's voice cracked. I know, I was just trying to feel something. I didn't think he'd show up. Now he's got this video and I'm terrified he'll use it. I froze. She knew about the video, how I hadn't sent it to her. Had someone at the party seen me? I slipped out before she spotted me, my mind racing. Back in my car, I played the new recording, her words cutting deeper than the video. She was scared, but not of losing me, of what I'd do with the proof. That changed everything. Monday, I called in sick to work and drove to Felicia's agency, a glass tower in Belltown buzzing with creative types. I wasn't there to confront her, not yet. I needed leverage, and I knew where to get it. Lila. She'd been honest with Felicia, pushing her to come clean. If anyone had dirt on Owen, it was her. I texted her from a burner number asking to meet, saying it was about Felicia. She agreed, suggesting a diner near the agency at noon. Lila slid into the booth across from me, her eyes wary but kind. Brandon, she said, setting her purse down. What's going on? Felicia's a mess. I know, I said, keeping my voice low. I heard you two at the coffee shop yesterday. She told you about the list. Lila's face tightened. You were spying on her? I had to, I said, unapologetic. She threatened to cheat with 10 guys, Lila. Owen's number 1. I found texts and email, a restaurant charge. I need to know what's real. Lila sighed, stirring her coffee. Felicia's not cheating Brandon, not yet. But Owen's been after her for months. He got promoted to creative lead and he's been using it to get close, late meetings, drinks, mentoring sessions. She's vulnerable. You've been distant and he's exploiting that. My jaw clenched. How far has it gone? She hesitated, then leaned in. They kissed once a month ago after a client dinner. She stopped. It told me she felt awful. That's it as far as I know. The list was her lashing out, not a plan. A kiss. Like a punch to the gut, but not the knockout I'd feared. Why didn't she tell me? I asked, my voice rough. She's ashamed, Lila said, and scared. She loves you, Brandon, but she's lost. Owen's feeding her doubts, making her think she's trapped. I leaned back, processing. A kiss wasn't 10 men, but it was a betrayal. And Owen wasn't just a flirt, he was a strategist playing on her weaknesses. I need proof, I said. Something to shut Owen down. Lila nodded, her eyes hard. Owen's careless. He's been emailing himself notes about Felicia like a trophy log. I saw one on his work computer. He left it open during a meeting. I can get it, but it'll take time. Do it, I said, sliding my card across the table. Text me when you have something. That night I went home bracing for Felicia. She was in the living room, curled up on the couch, no wine, just a mug of tea. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying. Brandon, she said, standing as I walked in. Where have you been? I've been calling all weekend. Needed space, I said, dropping my keys on the counter. After Whitby, I think you get why. Her face crumpled. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean any of it, the things I said. I was drunk, hurt. I'd never cheat on you. I crossed my arms, keeping the counter between us. I saw you with Owen, Felicia. I heard you at the coffee shop. You kissed him. Don't lie to me. Her breath caught and she sank back onto the couch, tears spilling over. It was one time, she whispered. A mistake. I stopped it. I've been trying to fix us, Brandon. Please believe me. I wanted to, but the text, the email, the video, they were louder than her tears. Then why the list? I asked, my voice cold. Why Owen's texts? Why a $350 dinner I wasn't invited to? Her eyes widened. You checked my bank account. I checked everything, I said, stepping closer. You're meeting him in secret, Felicia. You're not fixing us. You're breaking us. She sobbed, shaking her head. The dinner was work. Owen pushed for it, said it was about a client. I shouldn't have gone, but I didn't. Nothing happened, I swear. Show me, I said, my voice hard. Your emails, your phone, prove it. She nodded, grabbing her phone, her hands trembling as she opened her email. She showed me a thread with Owen confirming the dinner was for a client pitch. No flirty undertones, just business. But the text, the email he'd sent her, they weren't there. She deleted them, or he had. I didn't want you to see those, she admitted, her voice breaking. They were nothing, but I knew you'd think the worst. I stared at her, torn between relief and rage. The dinner was work. The kiss was a mistake. But the secrecy, the list, Owen's pursuit, they were real. We're not okay, Felicia, I said, my voice low. You need to decide what you want, me or whatever Owen's selling. She reached for me, her hand brushing my arm. I want you, Brandon. I'll do anything to fix this. I pulled back, the wound too raw. We'll talk, I said, but I need time. And you need to stay away from Owen. The next week was a blur of tension. Felicia worked from home, avoiding the agency. I buried myself in a server migration project, my team pulling 16-hour days to meet a deadline worth $25 million to the firm. At home, we were polite but distant, like strangers sharing a condo. I kept checking her phone when she slept, not proud, but trust was a ghost. Nothing new from Owen, just work emails and texts to Lila. Then Thursday, Lila texted me a screenshot. Owen's email to himself, timestamped the day after the retreat, Felicia's cracking. Whitby was perfect, she's ready to leave him. Just need one more push. Attached was a photo of them at the retreat. Felicia's smile, tight, Owen's arm around her. My blood boiled. He wasn't just chasing her, he was plotting. I forwarded the screenshot to Owen's work email, CCing his boss with a message, "Back off my wife or this goes public. Your call." It was a risk, but I was done playing defense. Hours later, Lila texted again, "Owen's on leave. HR's investigating. You're welcome." I exhaled, relief sharp but fleeting. Owen was out, but the damage lingered. Felicia's kiss, her list, her secrecy, they weren't erased by his downfall. I needed to confront her, but not with rage, with truth. Friday night, I came home to find Felicia in the kitchen. No wine, just a pot of chili simmering on the stove. She looked up, her eyes cautious but warm. "I made your favorite," she said, stirring the pot. "Can we talk?" I nodded, sitting at the counter. "Yeah, but you go first." She set the spoon down, her hands twisting together. "I messed up, Brandon. The listo and the kiss. It was all me trying to feel something. I felt invisible and he saw that. But I stopped it. I chose you. I'm done with him with all of it. I studied her, searching for a lie. I know about Owen's email, I said, my voice steady. The one he sent himself saying you're ready to leave me. I got him out of your life. He's on leave, probably done at the agency. Her jaw dropped, then her eyes filled with tears. How doesn't matter, I said, leaning forward. What matters is us. You kissed him, Felicia. You hid things. I want to trust you, but you're making it hard. She sobbed, covering her face. I'm so sorry. I was lost, but I'm here now. I'll do anything, therapy, whatever you want. I stood walking around the counter to pull her into my arms. She clung to me, her body shaking, and for a moment I felt us again, not whole, but fighting. We're not fixed, I said, my voice soft but firm. But we can try. No more secrets, Felicia. Ever. She nodded, her tears soaking my shirt. No more secrets. I love you, Brandon. I held her, the chilly's warmth grounding us, but doubt lingered. Could we rebuild? Or was this just a pause before the end? The Seattle rain had softened to a mist, draping the city in a quiet haze, as I stood on our condo's balcony, a whiskey in hand. I'm Brandon Keller, 41, still grappling with the fault lines in my marriage to Felicia, 34. Her drunken threat to cheat with 10 men at her company, retreat her kiss with Owen Chandler, the list of names she'd waved like a guillotine, it all lingered like a bruise. We were trying to rebuild, piecing trust back together with therapy and raw honesty, but it was fragile work. Owen was out of her agency, sidelined by HR after I sent his incriminating email to his boss. But victory didn't erase the cracks. Felicia's tears, her promises, her chili simmering on the stove, they were real. But so was the doubt gnawing at my gut. A month after the retreat, we were navigating a new normal. Felicia worked shorter hours, focusing on a new campaign that kept her away from the agency's party crowd. I cut back on late nights at the tech firm, trading server migrations for evenings at home. We cooked together, watched old movies, talked about things we'd buried, her restlessness, my workaholic streak. Therapy was a battlefield, exposing wounds we'd ignored, but it was also a map guiding us towards something stronger. Still, I couldn't shake the image of her with Owen, her fingers on his arm, her voice daring him to handle her. Trust was a muscle we were still learning to flex. One crisp December evening, Felicia came home with a small wrapped box, her hazel eyes bright with nervous excitement. What's this? I asked, setting my laptop aside. I was crunching numbers for a project worth $15 million, but her smile pulled me away. Open it, she said, tucking her jet black hair behind her ear. I tore the paper, revealing a pair of plane tickets to Portland, Oregon for a weekend getaway at a boutique hotel on the Willamette River. Dates next month. Paid with her bonus. A trip, I said, my voice catching. Just us. She nodded, her smile shaky but genuine. I want us to start fresh, Brandon. Portland's where we went after our engagement. Remember? We stayed up all night eating food truck tacos, laughing like idiots. I remembered. We'd been younger, lighter before the weight of careers and expectations settled in. This is good, Felicia, I said, pulling her close. Really good. Her arms tightened around me, but her voice was soft, almost fragile. Are we okay? I mean, really okay? I hesitated, the truth a tightrope. We're getting there, I said, kissing her forehead. One step at a time. She nodded, her breath warm against my chest, and for a moment the condo felt like home again. But life, as I'd learned, doesn't let you rest. The next week I got an email from an unfamiliar address, the subject line blank. I opened it at my desk, the tech firm's open plan office humming around me. Mr. Keller, it read, you think you won, but you don't know the half of it. Check Felicia's cloud drive. Folder personal. You're welcome. A friend. My pulse spiked. A friend, more like a snake. Owen was gone, but someone was stirring the pot. I logged into Felicia's iCloud from my phone using the password I'd cracked months ago. Guilt pricked me, but curiosity won. The personal folder was buried deep, filled with old photos and work files. Then I saw a subfolder labeled Notes. Inside was a single document dated a week before the retreat. My hands shook as I opened it. It was a draft email never sent from Felicia to Owen. I'm trapped, it began. Brandon's a good man, but he's not enough. I feel alive with you, Owen. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop thinking about you. Whidbey could be our chance. The words ended abruptly, like she'd stopped mid-thought. My stomach churned. A draft not sent, but it was her handwriting in digital form echoing the list she'd shown me. She hadn't acted on it except for the kiss, but the intent was there, raw and real. I closed the file, my chest tight. Who sent this? Owen. Getting one last jab and a coworker with a grudge, I forwarded the email to Caleb, my cybersecurity buddy, with a single line: "Find out who sent this." Caleb called an hour later. "It's a burner account," he said, his voice grim. "Routed through a VPN, but I traced it to an IP in Seattle. Someone at Felicia's agency, most likely. Could be Owen, but my bet's on someone else, maybe a rival who wants her out." "Why?" I asked, pacing my office's glass-walled conference room. "Her new campaign," Caleb said. "It's a big deal, right? $1 million client. If she tanks, someone else gets the spotlight." I cursed under my breath. Felicia's promotion had ruffled feathers, her team was cutthroat, and she'd outshined plenty. But this digging up her past with Owen to sabotage her, it was vicious. "I need to know who," I said. "Can you dig deeper on it?" Caleb said. "But Brandon, what about Felicia? You gonna tell her?" "Not yet," I said, my voice hard. "I need to know what I'm dealing with first." That night I came home to Felicia curled up on the couch, a sketch pad in her lap, doodling ideas for her campaign. She looked up, her smile soft. "Hey, you're early," she said, setting the pad aside. "Hungry?" I ordered Thai. I nodded, forcing a smile, but the draft email burned in my mind. "Sounds good," I said, sitting across from her. "How's the campaign going?" Her eyes lit up the way they used to when we first met. "It's intense. The client's picky, but I think we've got a shot at landing it. Could be a game changer for me." I watched her searching for the woman who'd written that email to Owen. Was she still there, buried under her promises? "Anyone giving you trouble at work?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. She frowned, stirring her tea. "Not really. Just the usual egos." "Why, just checking," I said, my voice steady. "You've been under a lot of pressure." She reached for my hand, her touch warm. "I'm okay, Brandon." "We're okay, right?" I squeezed her hand, but the words stuck in my throat. "Yeah, I lied. We're okay." Caleb came through 2 days later, texting me a name: Tara Vaughn, a senior designer at Felicia's agency. 39, ambitious, passed over for Felicia's promotion. Caleb had hacked into the agency's server, don't ask how, and found Tara's digital fingerprints on the burner email. "She's been sniffing around Felicia's files," he said when we met at a bar near his office. "Probably saw the draft when Felicia left her computer open. She's playing dirty to take her down." I leaned back, sipping my bourbon. "What's her endgame?" "Felicia's campaign," Caleb said. "It's a $20 million account burrow. If Tara leaks that email, Felicia's reputation tanks and Tara swoops in." I cursed, my mind racing. Tara didn't just want Felicia's job, she wanted her humiliated, and she'd dragged me into it knowing the email would gut me. "I need to shut her down," I said, my voice low, "without blowing up Felicia's career." Caleb grinned, his eyes glinting. "You're in tech, man. Use it. Plant something to scare Tara off, but keep it clean." I nodded, an idea forming. Tara was playing a digital game, but I was a project manager, not a rookie coder. I could outsmart her without breaking a sweat. The next day I used a secure VPN to create a burner email of my own. I drafted a message to Tara, keeping it vague but sharp. "I know what you're doing with Felicia's files. Stop, or your own secrets hit HR. You're not as careful as you think." I attached a screenshot of an innocuous email Tara had sent to a coworker griping about the agency's management. Nothing damning, but enough to spook her. I sent it from a server Caleb had set up, untraceable. Within hours, Caleb confirmed Tara had stopped digging. She deleted her burner account and locked down her work files. Felicia's campaign was safe for now. But the draft email still sat in my mind like a landmine. I had to tell her not to fight, but to clear the air. Friday night I cooked steak rare the way Felicia liked it. She came home late, her eyes tired but bright, her campaign pitch just days away. We ate at the dining table, the Portland tickets between us like a promise. "You okay?" she asked, cutting into her steak. "You've been quiet." I took a breath, setting my fork down. "I found something," I said, my voice steady. "A draft email you wrote to Owen. Before the retreat. You said you felt trapped, that he made you feel alive." Her face went pale, her fork clattering to the plate. "Brandon, how did you—" "Doesn't matter," I said, holding her gaze. "You didn't send it, but you wrote it. I need to know why. She covered her face, tears spilling. I was lost, she whispered. I wrote it after a fight. Remember when you worked that 70-hour week, I felt invisible. Owen was there saying all the right things. But I didn't send it, Brandon. I couldn't. I chose you. I leaned back, the whiskey in my glass untouched. Someone else found it, I said. Tara Vaughn. She tried to leak it to hurt you. I stopped her. Felicia's eyes widened, her breath hitching. Tara. Why your promotion, I said. She wants your spot. I made sure she backed off, but Felicia, you wrote those words. They're real. She stood, moving to my side of the table, her hands trembling as she reached for me. They were real, then, she said, her voice breaking. But not now. I'm here, Brandon. I'm fighting for us. Please tell me you see that. I pulled her into my arms, her tears soaking my shirt. I see it, I said, my voice soft but firm. But we can't hide from this. No more secrets, Felicia. Ever. She nodded, clinging to me. No more secrets. I love you. The Portland trip came a week later. A cold January weekend with the Willamette River glittering under a rare, clear sky. We checked into the hotel, a cozy spot with exposed brick and a fireplace in the lobby. Felicia wore a scarf I'd bought her years ago, her smile tentative but real as we walked the waterfront, sharing coffee and memories. This feels like us again, she said, leaning against me as we watched a barge drift by. Not the same us, I said, my arm around her. A better one, maybe. She looked up, her eyes searching mine. You mean that I do, I said, kissing her. It wasn't perfect. The draft email, the kiss, the list, they'd left scars. But scars tell a story, and ours was one of fighting through, not giving up. Back in Seattle, life settled. Felicia landed her campaign, a $20 million win that cemented her promotion. I closed my project, earning a bonus of $40,000 we used to plan a bigger trip, maybe Italy, like we'd dreamed years ago. Therapy kept us honest, forcing us to face the hard stuff, her restlessness, my distance. The trust we were rebuilding brick by brick. One night as we sat on the balcony, the city's lights flickering below, Felicia turned to me, her hand in mine. Do you ever think about that night? She asked, her voice quiet. The list, sometimes, I admitted. But it's not who we are now. You showed me who you are, Felicia. You fought for us. She smiled, tears glinting in her eyes. So did you. I don't deserve you, Brandon. You do, I said, pulling her close. We deserve each other. We sat there, the rain a distant memory, the city alive around us. Love wasn't a fairy tale, it was a choice, messy and real. We'd chosen it, scars and all. But the question lingered, had I done enough to protect us? Or was I still waiting for the next blow? What would you do, knowing the truth could break you but staying could heal you? You're here because this story meant something. Don't scroll away without leaving a like, a thought, and your subscription. Revenge with Jack is where real stories find their voice in yours.